welcome to my channel LT Coins World. Today we are going to be taking a look at some of the most valuable piece dollar varieties that are out there. Now I put together a list of the top 5 piece dollar varieties that have sold by sales, starting with the lowest $1 first and ending on the highest dollar. And I will tell you right now, these are some very world. Today we will dive deep into one of the most historically important and most widely recognized silver dollars in American coinage, the 1922 piece dollar. This coin is more than just a piece of silver. It is a piece of America's story. It carries with it the legacy of war, the hope of peace, and the artistry that defined a generation. To truly understand the 1922 piece dollar, we must step back into history. The coin was first conceptualized in the aftermath of the First World War, a conflict so devastating that it left an entire world yearning for peace. The United States Mint wanted a silver dollar that would stand as a symbol of that hope, and thus the peace dollar was born. The very name peace dollar was intended to communicate optimism for a new era, and when you hold this coin, you are not just holding silver, you are holding a piece of that dream. The designer of the peace dollar was Anthony de Francisci, an Italian-American sculptor whose work was chosen through a design competition. His youthful Liberty portrait was modeled after his own wife, Teresa de Francisci. Her profile was seen as modern, fresh, and hopeful, in contrast to the more classical Liberty designs of earlier dollars. Like the Morgan dollar, Teresa's image became the face of Liberty on the peace dollar, representing the spirit of a nation looking toward the future with confidence. The reverse featured a powerful American eagle resting on a rock, clutching an olive branch with the word peace boldly inscribed below. This was not a coin of conquest, it was a coin of reflection and hope. Now, why is the 22 piece dollar such an important issue? The piece dollar series itself began in 1921, and the 1921 issue was struck in high relief, meaning the design was raised more sharply from the surface of the coin. While beautiful, this high relief caused problems in mass production. The coins were difficult to strike consistently and the dies wore out quickly, so in 1922 the Mint modified the design, lowering the relief to make it easier to strike in large quantities. This makes the 1922 piece dollar the first year of the more practical, low-relief version that continued through the rest of the series. This technical adjustment marked a turning point in the series. The 1922 piece dollar also stands out because of its massive mintage. More than 84 million examples were struck, making it the highest mintage of any piece dollar by far. This means that the coin is relatively common in circulated grades, but scarcity and value appear when you look at condition, rarity, varieties, and mint marks. Coins struck in high mint state grades, especially with full strike and strong luster, become much more desirable to collectors and command high prices. We must also consider the mints involved. The 1922 and ending piece on the highest was struck in Philadelphia, and I will tell you right now, these are some very expensive coins. I'd love just to hold one of these, but we're going to dive right on in. First of all, we are going to take a look at a 1921. This is a VM1H. Once again, this is a 1921, known as a VAM1H. There are only 7 known of this particular variety. What this was a business struck coin, an MS coin struck for circulation, but was accidentally struck with the satin finish that was meant for the proof strikes. So this one right here that you are looking at ended up selling an auction for $7,500. Once again, it sold for $7,500. This is a business struck coin that was struck with the proof satin finish, where every coin tells a story far bigger than its size. Today we turn our attention to one of the most iconic and sought-after treasures of American numismatics, the 1928 piece dollar. This coin is not just silver struck in the mint, it is a piece of living history, a symbol of a nation emerging from war, embracing the hope of peace and building its identity in the modern world. The piece dollar series began in 1921 to mark the end of the Great War and to celebrate the idea of peace for a generation that had seen destruction and longed for renewal. The 1928 issue stands apart not only because it is the lowest mintage business strike of the entire series, but also because it represents the fragile balance between prosperity and uncertainty. In late 1920s America, only a little over 360,000 pieces were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, making this coin incredibly scarce for collectors. The obverse carries the portrait of Lady Liberty, designed by Anthony de Francisci. her hair flowing like rays of freedom, her crown reminiscent of the Statue of Liberty standing, tall as a beacon of hope. The reverse bears the image of a majestic bald eagle perched proudly, with the word peace inscribed at the bottom, a design that captures both strength and calm in a world still healing from conflict. By the United States was in the final years of the Roaring Twenties, a decade of jazz, of innovation, of cultural change, but also a decade headed unknowingly toward the Great Depression. So when you hold a 1928 peace dollar, you hold more than a coin. You hold the reflection of an era of optimism, of economic highs and silent shadows preparing to fall. It is this duality that makes the coin one of the most desirable pieces in American coinage history. Collectors today chase the 1928 peace dollar not only for its rarity, but for the story it tells and for the emotion it carries in silver form. Where history and value meet in every coin today, we are diving into the 1923 peace dollar, a coin that is more than just silver. It is a reflection of an America searching for peace after the First World War, born from the vision of creating a symbol of harmony. This coin carries with it stories of art history and lasting value. The peace dollar was first minted in 1921, designed by Anthony de Francisci, whose vision brought Lady Liberty to life with a youthful face inspired by his wife, Teresa. The coin represented not only liberty but also the new hope of America in the 1920s. The reverse featured the American eagle resting on an olive branch, a universal symbol of peace. The 1923 peace dollar came during a time of recovery from the Great War, and it was one of the most widely struck dates in the entire series. Minted in both Philadelphia and San Francisco, with over 30 million pieces struck in Philadelphia, it became a coin many Americans held in their hands daily. But beyond circulation, it held deep symbolic value. Unlike the Morgan dollar, which carried the rugged image of the industrial and expanding United States, the peace dollar stood for calm stability and a new era. Collectors today value the 23 peace dollar not only for its silver content, but for its design, its history, and the story it tells about America. High-grade mint state examples with strong luster are prized, while rare errors like die, cracks, or weak strikes can bring premiums. The coin represents the last great silver dollar series of the United States, and for many, it is a piece of art as much as it is money. When you hold a 1923 peace dollar, you are holding a piece of history, a symbol of America's wish for peace and progress after one of the darkest times in world history. This is why collectors across generations treasure it, not just as silver, but as a message carved in metal, a message that still speaks today. Where history and numismatics come together, one coin at a time. Today we are looking at one of the most remarkable silver dollars in American history, the 1927 peace dollar. This coin was minted during a time of transition in the United States following the end of World War I, when the nation wanted to celebrate peace and honor the sacrifices of those who fought. The peace dollar series, designed by Anthony de Francisci, first appeared in 1921, and it symbolized the hope of a nation moving from war to peace. The 1927 peace dollar is struck in 90% silver and 10% copper, giving it both beauty and lasting strength. On the obverse, we see Lady Liberty crowned with rays of light, representing a new era of freedom and optimism. On the reverse is a majestic American eagle resting on a rock, with the word peace inscribed below, a powerful symbol that captured the American spirit of the 1920s. In 1927, the Philadelphia Mint produced most of the coins, while Denver and San Francisco also struck limited numbers, making certain mint marks like the 1927 SE scarcer and highly sought after by collectors. Today, many examples circulated heavily in commerce during the late 20s and early 30s, but high-grade specimens with full luster and minimal wear can fetch strong premiums at auction. The coin also tells the story of America's economy. The Roaring Twenties saw rapid growth, but just 2 years after this dollar was minted, the stock market crash of 1929 would change everything. Millions of these coins were melted under later government policies, making survivors especially desirable to collectors today. The 1927 peace dollar is not just silver. It is a piece of living history, a reminder of peace, ambition, and the changing face of America. Owning or even studying this coin connects us to a past where design, artistry, and national identity were captured in a single piece of money. Today we take a closer look at one of the most iconic American silver dollars, the 1934 peace dollar. This coin is not just silver in design, it is a direct reflection of America during the 1930s, a period marked by struggle, recovery, and resilience. The Peace Dollar series was first introduced in 1921, designed by Anthony de Francisci to commemorate the end of World War I and to symbolize peace. The design features Lady Liberty wearing a radiant crown on the obverse and a majestic bald eagle perched on a rock holding an olive branch on the reverse. The coin was a message to the world that the United States had survived the war and was now dedicated to peace and prosperity. By 1934, America was facing a very different challenge. The Great Depression had shaken the nation. Unemployment was high, banks were failing, and confidence in the economy was at an all-time low. President Franklin D. Roosevelt had just introduced the New Deal, and the Coinage Act of 1934 authorized the striking of silver dollars again. After a 2-year pause, the peace dollar returned that year, and it carried with it a powerful symbolism, a reminder of both economic struggle and national endurance. The 1934 peace dollar is historically significant because it was one of the last years the peace dollar was minted. It was struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. The Philadelphia mint coins came with no mint mark. The Denver mint coins carried a D mint mark, and San Francisco coins showed the S mint mark. Collectors today carefully study these mint marks along with strike quality and luster because they make a huge difference in rarity and value. Among all varieties, the 1934 S peace dollar is particularly famous because of its scarcity and higher grades. Most circulated widely in commerce during the Depression years, and very few were saved in mint state condition. This has made the 1934 S one of the key dates in the peace dollar series, commanding high prices at auctions, especially in MS65 or higher grades. The silver content of the 1934, 90% silver and 10% copper, with a total weight of 2673 grams and a diameter of 38.1 millimeters. This gave the coin a tangible sense of value. At a time when people desperately needed financial stability, holding one in hand was not just about buying power, it was about hope and reassurance that the American dollar was backed by silver and strength. The artistry of the coin remains one of the most admired in American numismatics. Lady Liberty's profile is bold, youthful, and forward, looking her radiant crown, a symbol of enlightenment and freedom. The reverse, eagle, calm yet powerful, standing above. The word peace reflects both vigilance and aspiration. The combination of design and historical timing makes the 1934 issue one of the most meaningful coins in U.S. history. Today we are going to explore the rich and powerful history of the 1935 peace dollar, a coin that represents far more than silver weight or monetary value. It is a symbol of America's hope, resilience, and changing identity. During one of the most important times in the 20th century, the peace dollar was first introduced in 1921, designed by sculptor Anthony de Francisci to commemorate the end of World War I and to celebrate the new era of peace that Americans desperately longed for after the bloodshed of the Great War. Unlike the Morgan dollar that came before it, the peace dollar carried a modern, bold, and uplifting design meant to show a young nation moving forward. The obverse features Lady Liberty with a radiant crown that echoes the Statue of Liberty, herself representing freedom, light, and the American spirit, while the reverse carries the majestic eagle at rest holding an olive branch, symbolizing the hope for peace but still alert and ready to protect freedom. By the time the 1935 peace dollar was minted, America was in the middle of the Great Depression. Families were struggling, industries were collapsing, and the United States was redefining itself socially, politically, and economically. The peace dollar of 1935 was the last year of regular issue, making it the end of an era for silver dollars as circulating currency. It stands as a historical marker, closing the chapter on a series that began with optimism in the Roaring '20s and ended during one of the hardest times in modern American life. When you hold a 1935 peace dollar, you are not just holding a piece of silver. You are holding a story, a memory, a reflection of resilience. Minted in both Philadelphia and San Francisco, the 1935 peace dollar was produced in smaller numbers compared to earlier years. This makes it especially significant to collectors today for its scarcity and its role as the last peace dollar ever struck for circulation. The Philadelphia issue came without a mint mark, while the San Francisco issue bears the familiar S mint mark on the reverse below the word 1. These small details become the keys to unlocking the value of the coin in today's numismatic market. Collectors prize well-struck examples with full detail in Lady Liberty's hair and the eagle's feathers because many of the 1935 peace dollars were struck from worn dies resulting in weaker designs. When studying the 1935 peace dollar, one must also look at the silver content and the context of silver legislation at the time. Each coin contains approximately 0.7734 troy ounces of silver, which was valuable even in its day, but what makes it far more fascinating is the connection to the Silver Purchase Act of 1934. This piece of legislation pushed the U.S. government to purchase silver aggressively to support silver prices, which in turn influenced coinage production, including the peace dollar. So the 1935 issue was not just another coin, it was directly tied to government policy and the attempt to, from an artistic perspective, the peace dollar is a triumph. Anthony de Francisi's design captured both classical beauty and modern strength. He used his wife Teresa as the model for Lady Liberty, blending grace with resolve. The rays that crown her head suggest both enlightenment and the forward path of the nation, while the eagle on the reverse exudes quiet power. Many have noted how this design differed from the aggressive eagle of the Morgan dollar, which clutched arrows and appeared ready for battle. The peace dollar's eagle instead rests with an olive branch, suggesting peace with readiness to defend. It was a deliberate choice, showing how America wanted to project its values to the world. After the Great War, for collectors, the 1935 peace dollar also carries stories of condition, rarity, and value. Coins in circulated grades can often be found, but uncirculated examples, especially those graded MS-65 and higher, are considerably scarce because so many were handled roughly during the Depression years. Higher grade examples can bring thousands of dollars at auction, particularly if the strike is strong and the luster is attractive. The San Francisco Mint issues are often weaker in strike than the Philadelphia coins, so finding a sharp S mint mark coin is an exciting moment for serious collectors. The legacy of the 1935 peace dollar also extends to its cultural impact for many Americans who lived through the Depression. A silver dollar like this represented real money, something solid and dependable at a time when banks were failing and unemployment was soaring. Holding a silver dollar gave a sense of security and value, unlike paper currency, which many people distrusted. This is why silver dollars of the era carry not just monetary worth, but deep emotional significance. They connect us to the struggles and resilience of everyday Americans in the 1930s. As we trace the story of the 1935 peace dollar, we are also telling the story of America at a crossroads. The optimism of the 1920s had faded, the hardships of the Depression had set in, and yet the symbol of liberty, with her crown of rays and the eagle, with its olive branch, continued to remind people of the nation's ideals. It was the last breath of circulating silver dollars before the series came to an end. Later commemorative issues and silver dollars would be struck, but the peace dollar series remains unique in its origin and in its message of peace after war. When we look back today, the 1935 peace dollar stands as one of the most meaningful coins in United States history. It marked the end of a chapter in American coinage. It represented resilience in the face of hardship, and it carried forward the dream of peace that inspired its creation. From its design by de Francisi to its role in Depression-era America to its lasting place in collections around the world, the 1935 peace dollar is more than metal. It is memory, it is history, it is America.